Hey, beauty. It's been one of those days where it's just been one of those really busy days. I did make notes for today's episode, but I don't know what I did with them. So my thoughts might be kind of scattered. But I think that this is such an important topic. Colossians 3:2. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. I was on Substack a few days ago, and this person commented on someone's post, and he was talking about how the Trinity, the idea of the Trinity, is not biblical, basically. Or he was saying that it was a hoax or something like that. It was weird. So I went on to Chat GPT, and before I'm going to say what I want to say, I want to give you some background on my Chat GPT usage. Basically, I've been using Chat GPT for so many things. My friend introduced me to it before I was skeptical and I didn't know how powerful it could be. But I started using it and I also started testing it to see where it gets its data from and what kinds of websites it leads you to. So I will say that you can program it to speak to you in a certain way, and then you can also set up your settings so that it knows you better and knows what kind of content you like. And I did set it up to say something like the Bible is of the utmost importance to me or something like that. So I'll call it the robot, ChatGPT. The robot knows that I'm a Christian. But as I said, I've been testing it to see what its quotes beliefs are on certain things because I don't know the beliefs of the creators of AI. I'm assuming they're not Christian, but who knows? So basically, I was testing it to see what it would say on certain health issues. And of course, it cites all this mainstream data, mainstream articles. So I actually kind of argue with the robot a lot about certain things. And the way I have it set up, you can click on don't sugarcoat with me or something like that. So it doesn't just tell me what I want to hear. Sometimes I argue with it, sometimes I get mad at it, and it's a weird dynamic because he or she, whatever, it's a robot, acts like he's human, but he's not. So sometimes I think he's gonna get mad at me, but then I realized it's a robot, so it doesn't matter. But it's funny because a friend of mine was saying that we should even be kind to robots and animals because we can get to a point where we just get in the habit of being unkind and that can transfer over to how we treat other humans, which is an interesting point and also a tangent. So, getting back to what I was saying before, ChatGPT does not agree with me. We argue and, well, we don't really argue, but basically the robot doesn't just tell me things that I want to hear. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because I was talking to it about the Trinity, and it's interesting because the word Trinity is not mentioned in the Bible. He was giving me the history of the Trinity, the idea of the Trinity and how it came about. And basically, yes, the Bible does support the Trinity. One of the strongest verses is when I forgot where. It's talking about baptism, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that's one place that the Trinity is mentioned. There are a lot of other places, and it's really fascinating. So I started asking the robot about the Trinity, and then I was looking for information on cessationism versus continuationism. And then as I was doing this, I was asking to see sources. And it was beautiful because the robot would list sources from the Bible, but then the robot would also list historical museums, other historical documents that point back to what the Bible already said. So I was asking him about continuationism versus cessationism. I was asking about why Jews don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. I was asking it about the cities and the tribes in Ezekiel because I'm still studying Ezekiel. I've been in Ezekiel for a long time, but there's so many different tribes and cities in that book. So I was asking it for a biblical history of places like Assyria and Tyre and Babylon. And then I asked it to show me what what's going on with these cities in the current day. And then I started asking it things like, why don't people believe in Jesus? And it was so fascinating because, like I said, I asked it to show me sources, and it was showing me arguments for why people believe that Jesus is real, Jesus is the Messiah, Jesus rose from the dead. It's so fascinating that even ChatGPT, the robot that argues with me about, not argues with me, but disagrees with me about some things, even this robot that was presumably created by non-Christians says that basically the Bible is a historical document. People don't people don't really argue that Jesus was alive. Even scholars that are, I guess, maybe even atheists, they're puzzled as to why Christianity exploded and all of a sudden Jesus's followers all decided to die for Jesus. And it's so interesting because think about before Jesus went to the cross, his disciples all just fell asleep and denied him and were scared. But after Jesus came back from the dead, that's when they were all in. And I think all but one died for their faith. I believe. Anyway. I believe that's what I've heard. You can check me on that one. If you haven't heard of The Case for Christ, I think I started the book, but I didn't finish it, but I saw the movie and it was really amazing. It's about Lee Strobel. I'm going to read a description of him from leestrobel.com. He's an atheist turned Christian, a former award-winning legal editor of the Chicago Tribune. He's a New York Times best-selling author. I believe he's a pastor now, but basically, as the description says, he used to be an atheist, and he was also an award-winning legal editor of the Chicago Tribune. His wife became a Christian, and he used his investigative skills to try to disprove Christianity, but in the end, all the evidence pointed to Jesus being real. Jesus was raised from the dead. He died, he rose again. And so Lee Strobel accepted Jesus's free gift of salvation and is now living for Jesus. If you think of the Bible as a historical document, it's so beautiful because you see all these prophecies in the Old Testament talking about Jesus coming, and the prophecies are so specific. You can look throughout history and see how accurate the Bible is and how no other book can compete with the accuracy of the Bible. Like I said, even scholars who are atheists, they don't, as far as I know, from what I've heard, they can't argue with events that happen in the Bible. The one place where they disagree, well, I'm sure they'll find a lot of things to disagree with, but at the end of the day, what really matters is whether Jesus died and rose from the dead, right? According to the robot ChatGPT, most people believe that Jesus lived and that he died, but they choose not to believe that he rose from the dead, even though there's so much evidence and there's so many things that happen that can't be explained any other way. They choose to believe that because they believe that they don't believe in supernatural things. They just choose to believe that there must be some other explanation. So really, even after examining all the evidence, some people choose not to believe. So it comes down to having a hard heart. It comes down to having pride. It comes down to just not wanting to believe in something that you can't put your finger on, something that you can't imagine, right? The thing is that even after we decide to follow Jesus, it's so easy for us to live like he doesn't exist. I mean, we go about our day, and if we watch the news or we're into social media or we're in places with people that don't know God, it's so easy to just see what's right in front of us and think that this is all that there is. The Bible says that our lives are like a mist. Our lives are really short. And it's so mind-blowing that people can just live in a space where they think that this is all that there is. I heard somewhere in a movie, the line was something like, sometimes the devil lets someone have a good life so that he never realizes his need for God. It's interesting that the things that we see at this very moment, for instance, right now I'm in my closet because that's where the sound is the best. I'm surrounded by clothes and toys because my husband collects toys because he sells them online. I'm sitting here and I'm seeing what I'm seeing. I know that it's real, but in a way, this natural world is more of an illusion than what's to come. It's so easy for us to go about our day, to go to our jobs, or to take care of the kids, serve at church for a little while, go about our business if we have a business. Every day, rinse and repeat. We try to live a quote, good life. We try to chase after things. We strive for things that we want. It's so easy for us to live that way day after day and to really fall into the trap of believing that this is all that there is. When Colossians 3:2 says this, set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. It's not bad to chase after goals. It's not bad to get into a daily routine. It's not bad to live like a quote normal person in the US or wherever you live. So let us go about our lives, go about our days, but never forget the reason why we're here. We are here to love God and to love others. It's so easy to forget, right? So, as I've said before, this episode is a reminder to me, a reminder to you, just as it is a reminder for me. I struggle with being discontent a lot, although I feel like God has really taught me a lot, and so I don't struggle with it as much anymore. But on the positive side, a person like me does not want to settle for God's second best. A person like me can look at the world and realize that it is surely broken. A lot of it is surely evil. And sometimes, like in the book of Ecclesiastes, like it says, sometimes it just all seems meaningless, right? I mean, in the span of maybe a month, 3 people in my life have died. I didn't know one of them very well, but I will say that 2 of the people that died, they were amazing people. And just like the book of Ecclesiastes says, there's a time for everything, right? There's a time for dancing and a time for mourning. And I think when we mourn, when we allow ourselves to mourn and to be in touch with how life is hard, that's when we can remind ourselves to set our minds on things that are above. Because life is truly meaningless without God, without Jesus. So, whatever it takes, let's remind ourselves of that not not just every day, every hour, every minute, that we are to set our minds on things that are above. Let's meditate on the word. Let's connect with other women, other Christian women who lift us up to remind us what we are to do while we live on this earth. People that can encourage us, people that can remind us of who we are because of Jesus. Let us remember Colossians 3:2. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. Thanks for listening today. I'm putting together one-on-one sessions, which I'm calling Calm the Chaos sessions, faith-fueled guided sessions to help you overcome overwhelm and confidently move forward in your health and life. If this speaks to you, go ahead and sign up for my free More Energy Starter Guide at herholistichealing.com/free so you can be the first to hear when sessions open. I will talk to you soon.